Welcome to EPG Pathshala. We are discussing the second module of water measurement techniques. In the first module, we understood how velocity is measured and why it is important to measure velocity for flow, and the cross-sectional area is important to understand. There are different techniques which are available to measure open channel flow and closed conduits. So, we know that what we can do for open channels, we cannot do for closed channels or pipes, and it is extremely important to understand the difference in flow between the open channels and the closed conduits. So, regarding this, what we will start with is that the first point is that in case of open channels, we essentially base the entire measurement on what we call or know as Manning's equation or Manning's model. In this, weightage is given to the cross-sectional area of the stream, the hydraulic radius, and the friction factor which is there, which is measured as N. And why is the friction factor important? Because here in case of open channels, whether it is a canal or a river, what happens is that the velocity of flow is different depending on whether it is a natural river which has got different kinds of sediment, and in case of canals which could have a concrete floor. So, that is what governs the velocity of flow. So, once we understand that in case of open channel that is important, we try and use that philosophy in measuring open channel flow. We have of course understood the wheres in the previous module. We have also seen how the current meter is used. In this module, we start with understanding what partial flumes are. So, I have discussed that we have triangular wheres, we have trapezoidal wheres, and we have rectangular wheres. But there are certain velocities, certain discharge measurements which need to be taken for discharges which are even smaller than the triangular discharge, and that happens to be the partial flume. So, this is even measured for small plots, as in we have the watersheds. So, there whenever there is a rainfall, we also want to calculate the amount of water that is released through what we call as rivulets. Now, these rivulets or small stream measurement can be done with the help of partial flumes. As you can see that here the discharge measurement can be as small as 0.33 cusec to 3300 cusec, and the material of the partial flume will be seen in the next slide. Now, these are often made with the help of PVC, and here we have certain constrictions which are there, and these constrictions in the channel have been deliberately created so that we can measure the head. And once we have measured the head, once again there are standard discharge calculations which are available in various manuals, and there we can calculate the discharge Q. Now, these partial flumes are also available in different sizes. So, any size that fits into the small rivulet that we can see here, that is the one which is used. So, once we have done this partial flume, we have understood, which is also an instrument mechanism which is not very expensive. We come to the measurement of water in pipes and conduits. The first instrument or the measurement technique that I would like to discuss happens to be the Venturi meter. What happens in case of the Venturi meter is an artificial constriction has been created. Now, that is known as a vena contracta. What that means is that if the pipe has a particular diameter, so it has a certain cross-sectional area, it has a certain velocity of flow. Now, by creating this kind of a constriction, what we do is we change the dia of the pipe, and as we have changed the dia of the pipe, there is a pressure difference which is created, and that pressure difference is measured with the help of the dP. And then we have got the Bernoulli's equation once again, and the continuity equation wherein the velocity and the area. So, V1 E1 A1 has to be equal to V2 A2. So, we know the V1 which happens to be the velocity in the pipe before the constriction, and that has a certain cross sectional area A1, and after the constriction there is a velocity V2 and a cross sectional area A2. So, this is So once we, and how is it that there is a difference that is created? That is created because of the constriction, you know that the velocity will increase. So V2 happens to be greater than V1, while A2 happens to be less than A1. Now here we put a coefficient of discharge. The reason why we put a coefficient of discharge is because we have to measure it in terms of whether it is a venturi meter or it is an orifice meter. So the pipe, now in this equation that you see on your screen, now here the diameters, we know that the cross section is measured essentially in terms of the diameter, and that is why this equation is in terms of the diameter of the pipe. And here again we should understand that the application of the venturi meter is generally for large water flows. It is not for diameters which are less than 7.5 centimeters. So the philosophy of vena contracta is extremely important to understand. And then we come to the orifice flow meter. As far as the orifice flow meter is concerned, the principle of vena contracta works here too, but the orifice flow meter is nothing but a plate, a very thin steel plate or an aluminium plate which is put in the pipe to create this constriction. And here again we often place a manometer, and this manometer measures the pressure difference upstream of the vena contracta and downstream of it. And this, of course, we can realize that V2 is greater than V1, but we allow the V2 to eventually reach the V1 levels because the continuity equation has to be maintained, and this is there only in a certain section of the pipe. And once again the pipe diameter, the pipe area is restored to flow at the velocity of V1. So this kind of a constriction in case of the orifice flow meter happens to be, it is able to measure even small discharges very accurately. And given the fact that the pipes generally carry less water than open channel, as we can visualize, open channels have a depth of, let us say, 2 to 5, sometimes even 8-10 meters, while a pipe diameter is very small. It varies from centimeters to only a few meters. It can never be more than that. And therefore we have these instruments which measure very accurately. So the orifice flow meter is again one such different instrument which is used. Now these instruments are very cheap and they are readily available, and that is how we measure the pressure difference with the help of the manometer, and using that in the equations we are able to calculate the flows which occur. The other instrument in this category which is used to measure pipe flow happens to be the Pitot tube. As far as the Pitot tube is concerned, now this measures any kind of fluid. Now when I say any kind of fluid, I also mean air. So if you want to find out the difference in velocity and the difference in discharge in case of air, as in what is the air velocity and the air discharge, that too can be found out with the help of the Pitot tube. So here again we measure the pressure difference, and that is used to calculate the discharge. And here in case of the Pitot tube, that is the one which measures very small amounts of discharge and pressure difference. So even a slight pressure difference can be measured with the help of the Pitot tube. Now here we have a solved example to tell us how the venturi meter is actually used. So we have this numerical where we are talking in terms of the velocity of flow, and so the velocity of flow is given in the original pipe, the constriction that has been created, and therefore the velocity, the diameters are also given here. So once that is given, we have to find out how much is the discharge that is actually flowing through the pipe. So this is a simple numerical which is actually displaying how the venturi meter is used. So we have the difference in diameter that is created, that you can see. You can also see corresponding to that there is a difference in the area and the velocity difference which will be there. So you can find these kinds of numericals in the reference material that has been provided to you. So that will clarify your understanding more. Please go through the reading material, that also has it. Now as far as the springs are concerned, what we see here is that a spring is extremely important water source in the mountains. Now, the spring, the real source of water in case of spring also happens to be the groundwater. So, the groundwater comes on the surface as springs. Now, here it is extremely important to understand that springs do not have too high a discharge. So, springs, though they come in the category of open flow, but it is groundwater which is coming out to the surface because of an opening which is there on the surface. So, as you can see from the drawing, the diagram that is there, that the blue line tells us that the groundwater level has got exposed because of some kind of a rock exposure, and that is how the spring water has come out. Now, as far as the springs are concerned, I said that the discharge can be a few liters per second to, let us say, 10, 12, 1500 liters per day. Now, the springs happen to be the major source of water in case of mountains, especially states like Sikkim as well as states like Uttarakhand. Many parts of these places are completely dependent on spring water for their as their source of water, and these springs are drying up because of the excessive deforestation that is happening in some parts. So, the groundwater recharge which is supposed to happen because of the vegetation cover is not happening, and that is how the springs are losing water. So, it is important to assess the amount of water that is available per spring, and that is how we can assess actually how much water is still left and what is the water demand, so that the difference can be met either through other measures, or we can actually try and augment the spring discharge which is there through some kind of recharge techniques. So, when I was talking about the water treatment plant, I told you about the intake structure being open channels or barrage or the weir. That is because in our country most of the water source is the reservoirs or the water that is coming from rivers. But when this water is treated through the water treatment plant, it goes through the pipes and it reaches our homes. So, it is also important to understand how much water is flowing through the major pipes and then through the smaller pipes which is actually coming to our houses. Now, having said that about the urban system, we also wanted to understand how the water comes from springs. The reason being that the springs happen to be the most important source of water in the hills. And if you have been reading, then you do know that the mountains, in spite of heavy rainfalls, do face water scarcity, especially in the summer months, because they are primarily rely on spring water, and these springs dry up in the summers. Now, earlier the springs did not dry up in the summers. Why do they dry up now? It's because of the lack of groundwater. So, the groundwater supply to the springs is depleting, and that is happening because of the deforestation. So, once again, earlier if we did not measure the amount of discharge that was flowing through these springs, it is important to be able to quantify the water that flows through the springs. It is only when we quantify we will understand how much is the shortfall and where we can actually have these recharge areas where the groundwater recharge takes place, so that the spring rejuvenation happens. And these spring rejuvenation programs are going on in states like Sikkim and Uttarakhand. And the other reason why we understood the groundwater measurement techniques is because the groundwater quality is also being compromised, and if we have to understand the groundwater quality, we cannot do that without understanding the groundwater quantity as well. So, when we are comparing the demands that is required for different kinds of demands, we have to understand the gauging methods so that we are able to manage our waters more efficiently. Thank you.